back to More Than a Score. I'm your host, Elijah Fields. We're here. We're joined today with Daniel Michalski. Daniel, how you doing?
Hey, Elijah. I'm doing good, man.
So Daniel, for a living, he runs. Daniel, if you'd like to go ahead and talk a little bit about your resume, talk about some races you ran in, go ahead.
I'm trying to make running my living. It's a little hard. I work another job too, part-time right now. And I've moved all over the place between running opportunities and job opportunities and necessity with just life and family stuff. So, but yeah, man, I'm a Xenia high school kid. Currently, I'm a Nike sponsored athlete. My primary event is the steeplechase. I try to work in a little bit at some of the off distances, but really my niche is the steeplechase. I started running my junior year at XHS, and at first it was just like, I'll use it to get in shape for basketball. It'll be fun. I'm not playing in the band this year. So I've got a fall, season to use. And Dave Oldegus was teaching at the school and coaching the team at that time. And I had him for some of the engineering classes, and I, respected him and thought, this is a guy I want to be around. And, I had some other friends on the team, the Orchard brothers that I was starting to get to know and appreciate them, and thought, some kind of striking out, kind of failing with my first race out. I went out way too hard, and I was ahead of like some all-state guys through the first mile of a 5K, which is just over 3 miles, and then I proceeded to just totally fall apart. I ran a 5-minute mile, and then I ran a 8-minute mile, and then I came back with like a 7-minute mile. And like my teammates passed me, and they're like, "Oh, what happened to Dan?" That year I stayed with basketball and baseball, and had some, pretty good success there, but nothing earth shattering, and certainly not like all conference, and like, really attractive for college coaches or anything. So my senior year, I actually didn't run quite as well as I hoped. I didn't really improve on my times from my junior year. And so I decided, all right, I need to run track. I need to add track to this cross country equation. Started in my sweet spot with, some middle distance races, and pretty quickly figured that would be my sweet spot. And, got better practically every week of my senior year, which ended up on the podium at the state meet with a huge improvement on that day. Yeah. Anyways, I took my talents to Cedarville University. That was a place I knew I could have success at. I knew it was a good fit for me, culturally, spiritually, academically, and athletically. Had some pretty good success there, and that's when I thought I was looking for an opportunity to start a grad program somewhere away from Cedarville, and Indiana ended up the place I chose to take the next step into post-collegiate running, and was able to run at the U.S. Senior National Championship that summer. Made the final there. Got to be a 2-time All-American for them too, and 2 times the record holder. Since then, I got married to my sweet Abby that I met at Cedarville University. Yeah, but made this decision to move to Colorado Springs a while back, and to kind of level up my training situation. Last year being 4th at the Olympic trials, just 1 spot off of the podium and the ticket to Tokyo, is pretty confirming that I should try to level up and make this thing a even more concentrated and full-time, I guess. Not to be defined by a failure or anything, but to get back up, figuratively and literally. I fell in the final, and I've done that before, in other races where something crazy's happened, and all of a sudden I'm on my back looking at the sky.
You talked about, your resume, and one thing I want to address from a mental, spiritual, and just like physical standpoint how do you avoid getting burned out on your sport? Because your sport is so grueling. And like you mentioned, you have times where you do fall down and that can be somewhat deflating, but how do you avoid the overall burnout?
Much to do with your mindset. And we can be pretty cruel to ourselves. Most people in anything that they care about or are working at or talented at is, they're their toughest critic. And so, you know, reorienting what your self-talk is like, how you're perceiving things, how you're treating yourself, talking to yourself is pretty important. Taking things in stride, a step at a time, and being fair to yourself, just stopping and appreciating where you're at. Stopping and maybe even looking back. And, I had to do that just the other day. I ran a race where the time was good, but like so close to great. And I really wanted great. And I was really feeling great. And there was a lot tied to running that great time. And I was pretty upset at first. And then I think it was my coach or my wife, one or the other or both, maybe even, that were like, why are you mad, man? Like last year you would have been stoked to run that well. And this year you're mad. Like, look how far you've come. And so that look how far you've come mindset can bring a sense of gratitude and just perspective to where you're at.
I mean, I think that's really good that you speak on that, because a lot of times what you see is people who compete at a high level, everyone who competes at a high level, they're constantly chasing, that next level of greatness, that next step up. You mentioned earlier, you talked about a lot of moves that you had to make throughout just not your life, but your running career. I think I'd have to ask, how does environment impact your mindset? We said that moving out to Colorado, it was a good, as far as like training, it's good out there because it kind of preserves your body a little bit. But just talk about all the moves you've made, and just talk about how environment impacts your mindset.
Having the support of your people is a huge part of that. For me, my direct support system being like my wife primarily, and my family, and my coach, and whoever's your direct connection, the people you're living with or working with, like having their support is super important. And then particularly in a sport that wants to chew you up and spit you out, or anything, the odds may be against you or whatever, like to do your best to make every affordance available and simple and set up for yourself. And so, controlling the controllables, I guess you can say, don't give yourself an excuse to not do something. So now, I live in a beautiful place where I can get out my back door and get onto a dirt alley that connects to a trail system. I'm working a job that's flexible so that I can do that. I can now travel on the weekends very freely, versus when I was coaching, my weekends were devoted to the competitions that the team I was coaching were going to. So, now just trying to, create every opportunity for me to have success, and having my coach there in town is just incredible. And I'll be a volunteer assistant for him among a handful of other guys. And so to get to be around his team and maybe training a little bit with some of his guys and have access to their facilities at UC Colorado Springs, it's a great blessing.
And you obviously, like I've reiterated, you compete at a very high level, time and time again. What would you tell to people who are just like chasing to be in that position? Like, talk about the commitment it takes from a mental aspect to just, there are things that you have to give up. There are things that you're not always going to be able to get just to compete at that high level. Like, talk about that mindset of getting to that point.
I mean, it's a grind for everybody. And I guess what you had to realize is that even the people that are there they weren't handed that either. They had to grind for that. They had to fight for that. But speaking with people who understand, it helps a lot. People that have been through it. whether it's directly in the sport or venture that you're in, or if it's a totally other aspect of life that has that they've had to do the same, that they've had to journey through like that. But I mean, I guess it's a don't give up mindset. You like there's no option to quit. I don't want to go so far as to being like a never say die person. When I think it's time to hang up the spikes and there's no improvement yet to be had, then I'll do that. I'll retire. I'll just coach or work another job and think about the glory days when that's time. But that's not time yet.
Right.
I know that not that I'm just like waiting for the perfect race where all the conditions are perfectly set up for me and whatever. But yeah, I know deep in myself that I've got more. I can build on the experiences I've had to have a better mental game in the race and making decisions throughout the tactics that can happen in championship racing in particular. So I want to continue to be a student of the sport of my event and to be a stinking expert by the time I'm done with it.
Man, so you said a lot of good stuff right there. So the idea of this episode, it's going to be called A Fresh Mindset. But with your sport, it's kind of like, I'm curious to know two things. And that's, one, how do you callous your mind to be tough? And then on the flip side of that, man, how do you take care and recover your mind and just keep everything to where you can, chase that pursuit every day?
Some days it's hard. Yeah, some days it sucks. Whether your body's, not responding well or whatever. But I guess kind of going back to controlling what you can control. And so part of that is trying to recover well physically so that your mind will follow or vice versa. Your self-talk, how you perceive things, how you decide to respond to a slight injury, oh no, this is the end of the world, or okay, let's be disciplined, let's do some recovery things, let's do whatever I can to self-treat. That's and sometimes the very best thing is a day off, is a splurge on what you're eating or on a fun other recreational activity. All right, let's go on a hike, let's go on a walk, let's go to the playground, let's go play golf. There's ways that you can kind of decompress.
We're getting to the end of our time here, but there's three main things that I gotta get out of you, just because I'm saying I got you here, so I gotta get these out of you. I did my homework, and in another podcast I heard you speak about philosophies that you have that you learned from an early coach. Could you talk about those philosophies? And then after that, we talked about mind over man, mind over matter. I need a story about a time, when you were just, body was absolutely done, literally from head to toe, you were done, but you just had to tell your brain to keep going. And then third thing, we'll finish when we get to the end of 1 and 2.
All right. So are you referring to the coaching philosophy that I
think yes.
Yeah. Yep. So it was pretty funny. I came up with it on the spot. I was asked what my coaching philosophy was, and I said steal, kill, destroy. And it was like, steal from the pool of knowledge that's out there, steal old workouts from your old coaches or ones that about, what's publicly available. There's things that work for a reason. And so if there's an expert that's doing a great job with one theory or another, then use it. And then kill was like, kill the competition, but kill them nicely, be a good sport, but be, relentless in your pursuit of victory. And then destroy, or wait, still kill, destroy. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it was destroy the competition. I don't know. I seriously came up with that on the spot, and it was pretty funny in the moment. But yeah, the funny thing is, it's like it comes from a biblical passage that is talking about the devil.
Mhm.
that those three topics are paired together. So that's not what I intended at all. It was pretty funny. Yeah, as far as like a body's done type of thing, I'll think what first comes to mind is a workout once. So I was actually doing it on Xenia High School's old track that's on the campus of the school, which, if you know, is in pretty rough shape. Has been.
Yeah, it's all.
So they got a new track. It's on the other side of town. It's great. But the old track, before that track was built, I happened to be doing a summer workout there while I was at Cedarville, and I was wrapping up my season after the school year was over, and Coach Orchard, the Cedarville coach, lives in Xenia too, so we just met there, and I had a workout. It was pretty hard. I started my first rep like well faster than it probably should have, but then I was like, I was of the philosophy, and many others are, that when you start a workout at a certain split, you don't back off, you don't slow down, like you only hold or get faster. Right. And especially on the end, you want to, last one, fast one, ready, steady, jetty, like, kind of race to the last rep of whatever workout. It's fun to be able to do that. I don't always subscribe to that as the best, but I think it is generally good to know that you've got a little bit more to kick at the end of a workout. So anyways, I started out way too quick, but I was like crushing this thing rep after rep. And, I finished my last one. I put my hands on my knees. I'm like pretty satisfied with this body of work. And I just, crushed myself to be able to do it. And then coach says, all right, get back on the line. You've got one more. And I was like, what? And I'm like, I didn't miscount. Like, he added a rep after the workout was over. And, you may have heard of some coaches doing that in whatever sport, but it's a little more rare in ours. And my coach has a story of one of his college coach doing that to him too. So it's not totally unheard of, but, all of a sudden it's like, holy cow, I budgeted for X number of reps, not X plus one. And right. So he said, all right, do it again. And I did it, and I was able to muscle it out and run just as well or better on the final rep. And, kind of opened my mind to the fact that, okay, you do have more, you can push more, you can, if you allow yourself to, self-talk right. is huge. If you tell yourself that you can't, you're going to fail. So that was a cool thing. And one day I'll put that on a workout to somebody that I'm coaching or administering. But I haven't had that happen since. And I haven't done it as a coach to anybody yet, but that was a pretty cool instance. I've had some races where I've had some real sufferfests that were just like my first race in a Buccaneer uniform. Even in college, even after college, where I, went out a little gung ho and paid the price late in the race. But I saw a sign at a Jimmy John's recently that the experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted.
Yeah,
I think that's the truth. That rings so true, right, man? So things have gone south many times. You do get experience from your mistakes, and so I'm trying to move forward with some experience.
All right, one last thing that I gotta get out of you. It's pretty much how we end the show every time. I ask you guys to come on, and whether it be about your topic or a story you have, whatever it is, if there's a message you want to give to the listeners or just athletes anywhere who may hear this, what would that be? It could be something that's on your heart, maybe philosophies you have, whatever it be. But that's how we're going into this show today.
Allow yourself the opportunity to have success. Place yourself around others that want to do the same. Learn from people who you respect learn from people who, you know, you can learn from, even though you may not respect them as much.
Right. Yeah.
You know, don't be afraid to put yourself into hard situations where there's people that are ahead of you in whatever venture it is. You know, like when I went to Indiana, you know, I knew I was going to get my butt kicked a lot. Yeah, realize the power that and the control that you can have as a person striving for success in whatever performance you're going for. You know, create good opportunities for yourself, and then like I referred to earlier, like, you know, take some time to appreciate the journey that you had and how far you've come.
Yeah.
You know, just having this conversation is healthy for me to think about where you know, how far I've come from, you know, just a kid who thought he was getting in shape for basketball season to, you know, guy that's, you know, running some of the biggest meets in the world
Right.
for the swoosh. You know, it's pretty cool. But
I mean, that's all spot on. Like, I don't think you missed a note anywhere. I think everything you said was very realistic. It can apply to anyone, athlete or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on, man. It was great talking to you, brother.
All right. Thanks, Elijah.